behind you. Here. Oh, should we just get rolling now? Okay. All right, call the meeting to order. Can we roll call, please?
Curtis Bissonette.
Here.
Winfield Rondell Jr.
Yes.
Milton Owen. Cheryl Owen.
Here.
Lisa Jackson.
Here.
Louis Johnson. Here. Francis Crawford. Tribal Secretary. Here. Tribal Vice Chairman.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Oh, you didn't call me. You didn't call me for. Anyway, I'm here.
Tribal Chairman.
There. And then just for the record, Nippy's gone for medical. Gepa, do you mind giving us opening prayer? Okay, we'll start with the Tribal Vice Chairman.
Hey, good afternoon, council and execs. As I discussed before, to transfer out of the gaming commission, 100,000, and then travel operations 300, and youth fund 300, to go into the gaming so that we can catch up on bills
And payroll.
and payroll.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Bakuli, second by Enemy Swim.
Question with a question. What were the three again?
Gaming commission,
Okay.
tribal operations, and youth fund.
Question.
Okay, question by Long Hollow.
Lisa Jackson.
Yes.
Louis Johnson.
Yes.
Curtis Bissonette.
Yes.
Winfield Rondell Jr.
Yes.
Cheryl Owen.
Yes.
Tribal Vice Chairman.
Yes.
Tribal Secretary. Yes. Mr. Chairman, motion passes.
Thank you.
For the FirstNet bill that does the GPSs in the vehicles, which would come out of the general fund, and then the programs will reimburse once is 18,304. Has the on it.
Have a identified the
Tribal Vice Chairman.
And the last one would be for the powwow, which would include the powwow, softball, and moccasin. The budget would be for 13,250, and that would be tax.
So move.
Motion by Buffalo Lake, second by Lake Travers.
Question?
Question by Vice Chairman.
Louis Johnson. Yes. Francis Crawford.
much was the amount?
13,250.
Yes.
Junior? Cheryl Owen? Lisa Jackson?
Yes.
Tribal Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Tribal Secretary? Mr. Chairman, motion passed.
Thank you.
And then last, again, yeah. For the shelter, we need a motion to pay the Fuel Inc. bill, which is $3,036.35.
What shelter is that?
The one over Old Tribal Building.
Okay. What's the funding source?
That would come out of our, to me. Yep. Yep.
Dick Travers?
It's only,
Spending freeze. Oh, yeah, we did pass that motion before.
Yeah, you guys made a motion to authorize bills to be paid.
Okay, never mind, sorry.
They're gaming, yeah. Okay, anything else, Mr. Vice Chairman?
No, I'm done.
Okay, Madam Secretary, I'll turn it over to you.
Leah is going to present something.
I handed out the proposal to reopen the fitness center. Sarah Lincoln had been asking me about it, and I told her since it was closed by motion on March 18th that it should probably be reopened again by motion, council motion. So I asked her to put together some plans on how to best protect everybody that goes, and she submitted those. I can call her over if you have any questions.
Can you just give us a quick summary of the proposal?
Oh, yeah. She's going to close the bathrooms and water stations, and she's going to have a sign-up sheet for people to come in, so there's only so many people in the building at the same time, 10 people at a time, no walk-ins. So they have to sign up for their scheduled times, and they will be screened before they're entered with the screening questionnaire. And then you can see the sign-up sheet. And then the health check as a result of the questionnaire. So she's waiting on one of those infrared thermometers that she will use every time somebody enters the building. And then they'll continually clean after each person leaves.
Madam Secretary?
I had recommended that she leave the bathrooms. I mean, the bathrooms should be open.
And I saw your email on that, and I agree with that. And then I think she responded with, she wanted to keep things really strict, and then instead of opening everything up and then having to close it again, and that we left it at that. So I guess that's your call. If you want them closed, we can do that. Or I mean, open, we can do that.
I think I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Vice Chairman.
I think if you wanted to open the bathrooms, they could probably borrow the tribe's gun that they're using for the times that they're open. And then we'll just have to come get it when we need it. But I know they're using that regularly here, but it's that, what is it, electrostatic gun?
Cleaning wand.
Cleaning
Yeah,
wand.
not a gun, a cleaning wand.
Cleaning wand. But I'm on the Tribal Leaders Diabetes Committee, and the funding that does the fitness center, the SDPI programs, they are doing other things throughout the reservations as up to this with a plan that they're submitting.
Council, any questions, concerns? Aoife?
Yes.
What was she hoping for the effective date? On here, she's got the 8th. So,
Well, I told her it would have to come through council because it was closed by council.
yeah.
So
Well, so I mean, are you guys shooting for
Yeah,
next
I guess
Monday
so.
or
if
just
it's
right
approved
away?
today, we can plan to open it next Monday.
My kids are going nuts. Can it be tomorrow?
If you guys would like it tomorrow, I think Sarah would be really happy about that. She said if you had any questions, she could come over.
It's up to council. You want to shoot for Thursday, Friday, today, tomorrow, Thursday? Okay.
Okay. So the 18th? Okay, I'll let her know right away. So just a motion.
Any other questions, tribal council? Okay, so we'll be approving the opening with the changes to the date and that the bathrooms will be open.
Utilize the lawn.
Okay.
So June 18th?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll move. Oh, second.
Motion by Geipa, second by Vice Chairman.
A question.
Question by Ms. Swim.
Winfield Rondell Jr.,
Yes.
Cheryl Owen,
Yes.
Lisa Jackson, Louis Johnson, Francis Crawford, Curtis Bissonnette, Tribal Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Tribal Secretary. Chairman motion.
Thank you. Go ahead, Leah.
Okay, so the second one is the Native Connections grant, SAMHSA grant that the tribe currently has, received an automatic 97,000 of supplemental funding specifically for COVID. And all I had to do was, I got the notice of award here. All I had to do was submit a budget. And when I got the PI change from Dr. Mason to myself, they did not change it to this grant because it's COVID money, it's a separate grant number from the Native Connections grant number. So when I emailed and I said, okay, I have PI status now, and I still can't see the COVID grant. And she emailed me back, my grant manager, and said, oh, I'm sorry, you'll have to get PI status for this grant as well. And I said, so do I need to submit another post-award amendment, or I mean, how do you want me to do this? And she said, just get a letter from the chairman and I'll take care of it. But I'm going to submit it as a post-award amendment because every time they tell you to do one thing and you do it, then it's something different. And ERA Commons is really stressful to work with. But if you have any questions about that grant, I have a copy of it here.
Okay, Leah, so you need to accept the grant? Yep, and then authorize signature?
Yeah.
And then do we need to change you to the PI for this as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so three things we'll do.
In the second document I gave you,
Yep,
you can see that we already got the notice of award, but it's in, not only is it in Dr. Mason's name, it's in, she's listed as the business official. And the business official should be Christine Feinday. So in the letter that you'll be signing, Mr. Chairman, it'll say to switch, to take Dr. Mason's name out as PI and put Leah Fighton in, and then take Dr. Mason's name out as business official and put Christine Feinday's name in.
council, any questions on that? Motion by Geipa, second by Lake Travers. Question by Bikuli.
Yes.
Cheryl Owen,
Yes.
Lisa Jackson,
Yes.
Louis Johnson, Francis Crawford, Craig Bissonette, Tribal Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Tribal Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to give a little brief update about our relationship with Avera Health, because I know that a lot of the council members were kind of curious about it and where we were at. So on May 19th, we had a conference call scheduled with JR, and there was like an emergency council meeting that was called that morning. So the conference call with the tribal executives was not scheduled. We weren't able to attend it. I think the secretary remembers that. So I spoke to JR and I said, they're in a council meeting. I think it's going to be a long day. They're going to be in there all day. I'll just get back and check with the secretary as to when we can reschedule this conference call. So he said, well, I would like to send the documents to the chairman for review. And they did go to the chairman, and I got a copy, I think the executives too. So I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see these consulting agreements. So I just wanted you to know that, because he wanted council to review them and approve them. So that's kind of where we're at with Avera.
Have they been through legal yet?
No.
Okay, they'll have to go to legal
Okay.
first.
And the last thing is just a quick update on this subaward from CDC, subaward from the Chairman's Health Board for $54,000. I brought it up with the tribal execs last week, and they had made a motion for me to move forward with it. So Sarah Dakota and I had visited about using it to amend and revise the SWO Public Health Code. Well, then on Monday, Jim Pearson brought it in, and he had already filled everything out, all the documents. So I told him, I said, because it was done in an executive meeting, I need to at least inform the executives or the council that you're going to take this grant after all, which is fine. Sarah and I talked about it, and we have some other funding that we can use for to move forward on the public health code. So I just wanted to let you all know that this $54,330 is going to go specifically to the ICS team for PPE and different things like that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
Okay.
Dr. Johnson?
Thank you, Council. I have the Head Start approvals that we need to go ahead and do. You have emailed this to you and then provided everybody a copy of it. Jennifer Wana, there's the Early Head Start report, and there's nothing there that I'm not well aware of, and it's just a real update of what's going on in the Early Head Start. They have not, they're struggling with a day of starting when they actively have babies in there, so they're still going through their plans, and you see that in your attachment, you have an early Head Start plan. It's just that when do we want to open it up for babies? Because when you do that, it's, it also, the daycare wants to open the same time. So I don't know if there's been a plan yet. You know, they've got a plan for the cleaning and the things like that are going on. It's just we need a date to open. So when those open, they should open simultaneously, if you would. So think about that a little bit for early Head Start. And then the food report for Tim is also in your packet. I asked him to definitely go through the reimbursements that were there. He did the usual weights, heights, and all where he was at. And so we talked about how he can better do the nursing portion of the job, because that should have been everybody in there after 90 days of being enrolled in Head Start. They should have 100% of their physicals, and all this should be updated. And so we talked along about that. And so we've got some plans going forward. The food reimbursements, you look at the bottom there, and that was the cost of all the foods that went out there. And he calls it reimbursement, and he talked about why he couldn't, and so then I agreed, okay, why he couldn't get anything back. Is there any way that we can include anything like reimburse Head Start for any of this through our funding that we have, our COVID funding? Is that a possibility? I don't know the specifics of the requirements of the funding, but they put it all out, and you can see the number of families they served, but they're not qualified to do a reimbursement on any of it.
Okay, we'll have to refer that one to the vice chairman. We've actually got some other items that are being researched for COVID funding, so we can just add that to the list.
Okay, thank you. I'll meet with you, Vice Chairman, on that part of it. So that's his report. I've called all the staff back to work to finish up, and all the staff means it's just part of them, really. Some of them are already laid off, and then in July, the first week in July, the rest of the teachers get laid off, and so it's getting down to a skeleton crew, but they're using safe distances and getting their business done that they need to make these plans. So if you look at it, you have the next reports in there are Roseanne's reports, which she is the family services manager. And you can see, of course, there's our enrollment. See, we get funded for 194. And out of that funded enrollment, 154 are the Enemy Swim Head Start and this Head Start up here. And then the early Head Start is 38. And so, no, we always have that, that's the one with the waiting list is the early Head Start. But even at the time of closure, we were not fully enrolled then either. So we can take up to 40 in early Head Start, and they only had enrolled 38. So this is 3 months of under-enrollment like this gets us under sanctions. And what happens is if we continue to go like this, we have a hold harmless for a little bit here due to COVID. And then after the next year starts, we'll have to pick up and we'll have to make sure. So I've been working hard with the staff to figure out what it is that they need to do to make sure we're fully enrolled. Doesn't mean they have to attend every day, but we're fully enrolled. That's huge. And so I put out their report that council approved a couple months ago for enrollment and retention and recruiting. And I said, what have you done on this? You know, and really they haven't done anything because they've been on admin leave. But they are coming back and they've been doing a wonderful job. I have to commend all the staff about how well they've pulled together, and they did a wonderful job with trying to. If you look at, here's the rest of Roseanne's report. And then you go on and they have their Head Start. They all came together and through safe distancing and put their reports together. And here's their Start Well plan for Head Start. You can also see the early Head Start plan. And then you see the Enemy Swim Head Start plan and the early Head Start plan. So all 3 of them have been working hard with all their staffs, their teachers. So I have to commend them for coming together and getting out of that admin leave status, and some of them are so ready to work, and others are, I've got my kids at home, And where do I find daycare when daycare is closed? And where do I find daycare when early Head Start's closed? So we are struggling with having those closures too, and it's impeding the abilities of some of our people coming back to work. So I recently tried to bring back one of my employees that were laid off, but because the daycare is closed, that prevented them. They said, I can't come back yet. You know, so those things are affecting. So when you think about when the dates of the early Head Start and Head Start to opening are the daycare and the early Head Start, they need to open up pretty simultaneously. So we still have one more meeting between the two entities to figure out how they're gonna transition kids, because some of the kids go to daycare and then go up to the Head Start and then back down to daycare. So that means there's more contact. So I have to say that, you know, it's been a wonderful, wonderful week for our Head Start crew. I have to say thank you for all of that. And so that's the reports on there, and the importance about those 3 reports that you get to see them on a monthly basis. And then approval for the well start plans for all 3 centers. And then I can move on to the quote. And Chairman, really, we could just have one motion to approve all of those reports and their plans. That would be fine with me.
Dr. Johnson, have you visited with other Head Starts, national office? Have they given any recommendations about opening dates or?
The office at Head Start, the national program has provided us guidance. They provide a lot of guidance. That's one thing about HHS is they provide a lot of guidance for their programs. So yes, and our Head Start that's the first thing they started out with, and it wasn't arbitrarily to get it. They took 2 days and whiteboards and papers all over to try to figure out how they can get these starts like this. And these are tentative. You know, if we are able to start and do 100% enrollment, we will do that. We will go ahead and enroll and start school as normal in all of our schools. But right now we need to make sure that we have these in place. So this is what it is. And basically Head Start is going to do 2 days of work, they're 4 school days. 2 days are going to be on site, and then the other 2 days are going to be online. And so they are preparing their families for this. So it's every other day. So what that's doing is it's like every classroom has 20 students. There will only be, instead of 20, there will be 10 in a classroom. And so then the other classroom is also getting instruction, but it's going to be meeting with their teacher online and working on their tablets and doing that kind of stuff at home. So leads to the next motion, which is the hatch motion for more tablets. So that's the plan, is to limit the number of students. They've got their orders ready, and they've got their orders ready for barriers and things as they need them, and how they're going to deal with that. And I said, you better start ordering 5,000 Ziploc bags and, you know, things like that they really need to keep things separate. So it's a good plan, and there's a good staff working down there.
Council, any questions? Okay, should we start with the first 3 bullets? Approve the early Head Start report, food report, and attendance report? Motion by Long Hollow, second by Enemy Swim. Question by Madam Secretary.
Curtis Bissonnette?
Yes.
Winfield Wondell Jr.?
Yes.
Cheryl Owen?
Yes.
Lisa Jackson?
Yes.
Louis Johnson? Francis Crawford?
Yes.
Tribal Vice Chairman?
Yes.
Tribal Secretary?
Thank you. Dr. Johnson, can we do the early, or the Enemy Swim, early Head Start, and Enemy Swim Day School plan all in one? Their start well plans? Or do you want those separate?
Yes, no, they can be all together.
Okay.
Because Enemy Swim is also in your packet.
Yep. Motion by Bakuli, second by Enemy Swim. Question by Long Hollow.
Lisa Jackson. Louis Johnson. Francis Crawford. Curtis Bissonette. Winfield Rondell Jr. Cheryl Owen.
Yes.
Tribal Vice Chairman. Tribal Secretary. Mr. Chairman, motion passed.
Thank you. Okay, now to approve the Wind Circle purchase for the tablets. Motion by Madam Secretary. Second by Geipa.
Question.
Question by Bakuly. Tribal Secretary? Curtis Bissonette? Winfield Rondell Jr.? Cheryl Owen?
Yes.
Lisa Jackson?
Yes.
Louis Johnson? Francis Crawford? Tribal Vice Chairman? Mr. Chairman, motion passed.
Thank you. And then motion to authorize chairman to sign the COLA award for Head Start.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Bakuly, second by Lake Travers. Question by Geipa.
Lisa Jackson?
Yes.
Louis Johnson? Francis Crawford? Curtis Bissonette? Winfield Rondell Jr.? Cheryl Owen?
Yes.
Tribal Vice Chairman? Tribal Secretary? Mr. Chairman, motion passed.
Thank you.
Chairman, I did want to notify the council that the Head Start does, or it has put in the application for $170,488 for the COVID-19 one-time funding. There is no match required at all for this, which I'm thankful, and all it required was the chairman's signature. It's a formula grant, and it's just basically sitting there waiting for us. So it's a little bit late, but we went ahead and we put it through. And the chairman did sign that yesterday, and it went in today. So keep you updated about that one. Thank you, Chairman.
Dr. Johnson, that NARCH award, you need that motion too, number 4, or is that? Or?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, we need a motion to authorize chairman to sign the NARCH award funding. Motion by Madam Secretary, second by Geipa. Question by Enemy Swim.
Tribal Secretary? Curtis Bissonette? Winfield Rondell Jr.? Cheryl Owen? Lisa Jackson?
Yes.
Louis Johnson? Francis Crawford? Tribal Vice Chairman? Mr. Chairman, motion passed.
Thank you.
So Chairman, in the packet is one from the Bureau. It's just a spreadsheet. If you look, and this is what they call it, the GEAR funding or the GEEF funding, depending on what you want to look at for acronyms. And it really shows the money that's coming down for the schools. The first amount was the GEAR, or GEEF, which is 46.1 million, and our schools have gotten that now. Or actually, they signed the funding documents. So Enemy Swim has 152,200. TZ has 535,100. Then the next thing we're waiting for, and we still, if you look at the across there, across the bottom is the 150 million that the Department of Ed got, and we don't know how they're going to distribute that. If it's going to be by student count or how it's going to be, but we're going to see additional plans. So that's a little FYI about this spreadsheet that's coming down for our schools to mitigate and build barriers and do what they need to do. Okay, so the next thing I included in your packet is the actual Governor's Relief Fund. This is the actual application this is the Enemy Swim one. I don't have the TZ one, but I did see it. They have it done anyway. I didn't get a copy of it yet. But here is what the actual application looks like for that funding. So then they'll have to do something similar for the other funding. They don't have all the requirements that our tribe has for the CARES funding, all those guidance. They only go by whatever guidance the Bureau has got, which is a lot less than what we're dealing with. And then in the packet, you also see the final notification of school closure and with the plan to instruct during closing. I do have this for Enemy Swim. You can see there what they have in their plan, and it was signed and board approved there. I have included the only communication I have from Gabe about what they're planning. So I talked to their board about what's their plan about doing this, the safe distancing, bringing back school, you know, how are they working on that? And so they're still working on that. I know they have a big board retreat in July. So things are coming forward with that. Then so that's just a FYI. When I get those documents, I'll share with you. The summer food program, though, is the last discussion I want you to be aware of. Usually, our youth program runs a summer food program, and what it is because his kitchen doesn't comply with the state standards as far as inspections and things like that, and trainings, then what he has been doing is the school, TZ, has been running the summer food. And so Derek's program has been paying for that. Well, this year, because they didn't know really what was going on, you know, we went through the COVID, all that kind of stuff, Teoshpazina didn't put in for summer food. So there is no summer food program going on down here anywhere. So what's happening is the Enemy Swim, they have a food program back there. And if you know anything about food programs, they're open for everybody. And so what they're doing is they pack off, I think every 2 weeks they pack off enough lunches and breakfasts for their students, and then they deliver them to the house. Okay, so now they're getting daily calls all day long for kids and to be added to that. Their kitchen, their freezers, their refrigerators are at capacity right now because they can't order enough milk, food in to process that. They don't have enough staff on there because there's an overwhelming response to people in our community saying, can we join the summer food program? So I said, well, I will make the school aware of it. I mean, make the council aware of what's going on up there. And that's, they usually feed about maybe 120 a day, and give or take 40 either way. And right now they're at almost 400. And so what they're going to have to cap it. And legally, technically, by the rules, you can't cap it. And so we talked a little bit. I talked with the gal that runs the food service up there and the superintendent, and really was trying to figure out what a solution would be. And their kitchen really is not big enough to handle anymore, and they're going to have to turn some people down. So I said, well, you make a call to the state and find out what their recommendation is. And so they're either going to have to do one of two things. They're going to have to stop delivering and just open their site up for people to drive up and pick things up, or else maybe they can deliver to their actual school families and then have the other ones come and just pick their food up. Or I don't know, but they were going to call the state, and I haven't talked to them today. I don't know if they got a response back, but there's that many families that are asking for this. So just a little FYI, because we don't have the food program running down here, we always should have one running somewhere down here. I mean, it affected us. We can't make the school do things like this, but as a community, we need to work and figure out how we can do that, because anybody can run and get funded. A church, you know, as long as you're trained and can do the things, anybody can run a summer food program. So, any thoughts on that?
Dr. Johnson, is Sisseton not running one then this summer?
I don't know. They must be, but I don't know that for sure. I would assume that they would, but I don't know that. I just barely heard about this yesterday.
Lake Travers? Long Hollow? Is it too late for anybody to sign up to be a sponsor for the food program?
I think it's too late now, but I do want you to know that, if repercussions come back or if the state has made some kind of decision to help them, they just are at capacity for the number of, so if they have to turn away people or change what they do, it always causes unrest. And so giving you a heads up, I'll find out, I'll keep you informed about whatever the call says and what other recommendations from the state on this is. But they're at capacity work too for the number of people that they have in their kitchen. And usually what happens is the summer food programs, they get paid for the food, and the funding for the cooks actually come out. Usually the school pays for it or something, because there's never enough money to pay for the staff that runs a program. So even with Derek's program, he ends up, even if he got the food, he still would have to have funding for staff. But I'm not sure why he didn't continue to go through that, but for next year, these decisions start happening in January. So this is if we're going to run one and we're going to ask to have people run one for next summer, we need to start January, February, because by March, they're requesting training. And the training is mandatory.
Council, any other questions? Dr. Johnson, you have anything else?
I don't. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Tribal Council, any other business? Lake Travers?
Put it there. It was in front of me, but I remember that you brought it up before, and I thought you made a motion before. There isn't nothing.
When? Last year?
Go look for it again.
You're going to make a motion, or you want us to look again? Okay. Okay. A motion to pay John Cloud $3,700 for vehicle repairs. Then it's going to have to come out of gaming. Okay, motion by Lake Travers. Second by Madam Secretary. Question by Buffalo Lake.
Are they both gone?
Call JR.
Winfield Rondell Jr., Cheryl Owen, Lisa Jackson, Louis Johnson, Tribal Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Tribal Secretary. Mr. Chairman, motion passed.
Thank you. Council, any other business? Motion adjourned by Lake Travers, second by Buffalo Lake. We're adjourned.